Hello, welcome. We are live at the Gartner Digital Summit. My name is Rita. We're here talking about how we can bring new life into the modern workplace. We recently did a report where we interviewed over 600 senior IT leaders about workplace transformation, AI, and more. And so we're here to have a little bit of a chat about that. Special guest to do that today for us is here to pull a card from the deck and do that. So if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Sure, I'm Gerard Lawlor-Smith. I am Director of Applications, End User and Radio Services for the Metropolitan Police Service.
All right. Well, Gerald, would you like to see what fate has in store for you from the cards?
Let's go with that one.
All right. You can pop it over to me and I'll have a look at it. So we have a quote in our report. It says, "The vision is yours, get there with Lenovo." It's kind of like our tagline, right? But what I really like about our tagline is it talks about the idea of the future. We're thinking about the future, next steps, what will work look like, right? So what's your vision for a reimagined AI-powered workplace? Like, what's your ideal vision of like what that could be, what that would look like, what you would want out of it for everyone involved in the business?
So my organisation, we're just piloting and trialling really AI with a couple of vendors. Essentially what we're looking for is the same thing that pretty much everyone is to one degree or another, which is kind of efficiency and maximising kind of people's best effort, saving time on mundane tasks or providing greater in-depth, across data sets or whatever. So in that kind of space is where we are at the moment. We've got a number of use cases that we're just starting to look at really.
Right.
So we're a long way from where we want to be. We certainly haven't rolled AI out across the organisation yet. Say there's about a dozen different use cases that we're looking at the minute.
Well, I think that's a fair answer. I think many organizations are still in the early stages of figuring out, like, what do we really do with this implementation? How do we want this to look like? What would we want it to be? And I think you brought up a nice point about, like, empowering your employees and allowing everyone to focus on the tasks that matter rather than the mundane ones that kind of, deprive them of the experience that they want from their job.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we are right now. Undoubtedly, as we get more experience in it and understand what the capabilities are, and we get more confidence around the efficacy and safety, in terms of security, as we understand that more and more, I think undoubtedly we'll make much more use of it in time to come, like every other organisation is looking to do at the moment, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Would you want to do one more question?
Sure, go ahead, go for it.
See. We'll see what happens. So, skills and training is important, right? I'm sure as you're going into the phases that you're describing of getting ready to learn more about AI and adopt it, you might be considering those things. So how can organizations better prepare employees to thrive in an AI-powered workplace? Or alternatively, what are you currently thinking about what should be involved in your training to make that happen for your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly going to be really important that we arm our people with the kind of knowledge that they use, how they can best use things like AI and so on, how they can get the most out of it, at the same time as ensuring the right governance is in place to give folk the confidence to be able to use it within the constraints of the deployment that you've got, that you're setting out for the organisation. So we're in the early stages of our journey with this and learning as we go. We're certainly only at trial stage, but absolutely part of that is going to be understanding what we need to be telling our people in terms of how they can use it and in what formats they can use it and to what extent.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're bringing up a great point, though, about it is important in your planning phase to consider security and compliance.
Yeah.
I think they shouldn't be separate things to think about. Like security and compliance is over here, the AI is over here. They should really be working together so you start on the right foot, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of areas that have got to come together to make sure that those constraints or barriers or the extent of the capability is understood. So, data governance, data security, there's legal compliance. All of those things have got to come together to create a safe environment that people can get the most out of it on behalf of the organisation, really, and kind of maximise the opportunity that it provides in order to allow folk to get rid of those kind of mundane tasks or move away from that kind of stuff into the more interesting, really productive business outcomes
Yes.
that, is what we want all of our people to be able to deliver.
So would you agree that it sounds like the departments really need to be working more closely than ever together to make sure that these changes can be made on a level playing field rather than IT makes a decision and then it gets sent to another department and then it gets sent to another department and then another one?
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's definitely not just an IT decision.
Right.
We're
It's
a
a
long way
business
from
decision,
that.
yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We're definitely a long way from that. Now, where actually IT are more enablers than setting the parameters or constraints or whatever of the solution just because they're delivering it. They need to be working much more closely with the business in order to be able to ensure that what's delivered gives the best possible chance for delivering the outcomes that we want. So, yeah, there's a number of groups that have got to come together to
Yeah.
ensure that we get the best out of the AI potential.
Last question.
Sure.
Because I was a bit cheeky and asked you a couple more and I only told you one. What are you most looking forward to when it comes to AI and all of these things that we've talked about today?
Well, I think if you'd asked me a year ago, I think that would have been a really easy question to answer. Especially events like this, we're constantly hearing that it's a developing thing. I heard Max Goss earlier on today talking about how if you hear somebody saying that Copilot, for example, is mature, no, it's a long way from matured. It's
Right.
constantly evolving. So I think in terms of being able to answer that question, I think it's less clear now. I just know that we're on a journey and that the potential for AI and its integration and what it can deliver is some way from being understood, really.
I mean, you're right. We're on a journey and we really don't know what's going to happen next and we're all figuring out together.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
But hopefully if you partner with, someone maybe like Lenovo, like they can help guide that journey as well too, which we are doing and specializing as well. Well, thanks so much for popping by
welcome.
my podcast booth today to talk about workplace transformation and AI. If any of you listening are interested in downloading the Reborn Research Report, we'll have it in the description below. And if you'd like to hear more conversations, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast. Thank you so much.